Hey, welcome. We at episode 7, so they ain't firing us yet. Hey, amen. Oh, what's going on, Mel?
Nothing
How's
much.
your week
Seven is
going?
my week is going good. 7 is actually my favorite number, so this is gonna be an exciting episode.
Oh, you play dice. Crazy.
4, 5,
No,
6.
so what's up? The fact I don't even know that. So you take the hood rat of the episode award. We're gonna give that away each time. What's going on? What you got new going on?
Oh man. Well, I just found out yesterday I got into Harvard Business School. So I'm still like taking that in,
Yo.
which is a little crazy. I also applied to Stanford.
Okay.
So yeah, but I'm still like taking it in. I'm excited.
I'm taking it and I'm excited. Shut the fuck Harvard,
Oh.
bitch. Harvard. Like, if you don't humble brag, what?
No,
Harvard? Oh Lord. Well, I'm
you know
gonna
I
just
don't
be
like to
saying that
brag.
all the time. I don't like to brag. You better. Say who else gonna brag for you?
You
Harvard.
know,
This is a clap it up, clap it up. Everybody at home. She's going to Harvard. Oh my God. You gotta give me a t-shirt. We were like, oh, did
yeah,
you go? No, 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 no. My friend said, like, that's
yeah. My mom
my
actually
sis.
called me this morning because I called her yesterday. I was like, I got into Harvard Business School, and she was like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, I got into Harvard." But I was like, "I applied," and then she called me this morning. She was like, "I don't know if I was dreaming," and I was talking to your aunt. And she was like, I felt like you called me yesterday and said you got into Harvard. And I was like, no,
That's
that's true.
so
I
cool.
really did
Yo,
get in. So, and then my
the
grandmother
whole
like
hood is
texted
proud of
me,
you.
thank you.
We
Thanks.
all proud, bitch. Like, just Harvard ended up. Yeah, I got into the school of hard knocks. That's about it. Like, God bless.
I mean, I've definitely
Amen.
been at the School of Hard Knocks. So I'm excited for this opportunity so that I can just, put both together
Would y'all
and,
eat like crumpets right before y'all start class? Anyway, all right. We not good. I don't know how it
well,
goes. Let me
I'm
stop.
dead.
This episode. All right, what are we talking about today? Today's episode is if you don't want a boss, stay at your job. We're going to get into that topic a little bit later because y'all be lying to yourselves about what it takes to be a boss, right? Dame Dash got y'all a little confused. Some of the stuff he was saying went over your head, and y'all quitting good jobs for no reason, or just being very unprepared at your own business.
Yeah.
So we're gonna start with our stories for the day. Now, have you seen it? It's been making around. Our sis Rihanna came back with a vengeance with the good big homie ASAP,
Shout out to
and she
Harlem.
shut down. Shout out to Harlem, amen. Uptown. Um, she killed it at the Super Bowl, pregnant and all, killed it. I know everybody was at home holding their breath because I was like, "Oh, it's my sis." You know what I'm saying? Like, ain't no shade. Listen, my
Right.
stomach has been doing a stomach situation, so I ain't want to say nothing. I was like, damn, am I being judgmental as a formerly pregnant person myself? I'm like, I don't want to put nothing on her, but that stomach looking a little stomachy. But you know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Like, go ahead, sis. Like, do what you're doing. You're very rich walking around. But I am just trying to figure out why it's gotten a media sensation that she didn't get paid for the Super Bowl. Like that's news to everyone. That she didn't get an exact check from the NFL to perform at the Super Bowl. So if you've seen it, it's been covered on every news media outlet. Rihanna's not paid for the Super Bowl, and people think twice before you turn down exposure. Like
Yeah, so I
you
think that's
in
interesting, right? But what people are not touching upon is that she did do a deal with Apple, right?
okay, speak on
So
it.
no one's talking about that. Like everyone's like, oh yeah, And I'm all for, I get it. Like sometimes you got to be at the ground and, willing to put in the work. But you also, it's strategy, right? So no, the NFL did not pay her, but she actually did do something exclusive with Apple. She's a businesswoman. The product placement of Fenty, she definitely did a little pat in between
Yo,
in
and the
performance. Like,
commercial when they was showing all the
yeah,
shades of the footballs. I just got my
yes.
Fenty skin match, so like I don't got no makeup on right now, but you know what I'm saying? I just found it. Like that was, come on. If you
Yeah,
were thinking about trying Fenty, you tried it after the NFL. And I'm not
absolutely.
gonna say nothing, but Fenty when it first came out, just as in terms of marketing and how you kind of like switch and change your marketing up. So Fenty, when it first started, it was all about the fact that they covered all the darker hues, and it's like, so much variation in dark shades. Because before it was just like chocolate and then midnight, like that. Those are the two shades that most makeup companies kind of carry. And I'm just saying, for these commercials, she kind of showed her range on the lighter side because we know
Hmm.
who's watching, we know who the biggest consumers are. And I'm like, I know that they was out here supporting my sis, and I am just so proud of her. And I just don't, the one thing I think I don't want to happen, because it happens a lot with us, we are strategic about what partnerships and alignments we make because we can't do everything. And I think that sometimes people come to you like, oh, this is for exposure. And it's like, boo, you don't have the exposure to give me the exposure. The difference of what and how you can kind of market it, because that's a business too. Like if you're marketing an event, if you're marketing an opportunity, you have to go to businesses and seek to have a true partnership. Hey, this is some content that we both could do because I'm already have a videographer there. Like
Hmm.
you'll be able to use this content for however long, rather than being like, if you just show up to my event, you're gonna get exposure. Baby, you're not the
Yeah.
Super Bowl. You can't
I
give me
think
exposure.
I think, I look at everything in terms of, and this is, it's not a cheat code, right? But this is like
Mhm.
my guiding principles in terms of like strategic partnerships, anything that I'm going to attach my brand or my name to. Is the first thing is like, what does success look like? Right? What's the goal out of this? Like what's the objective? And then what are the three goals?
Mhm.
Plain and simple, because I think a lot of times too we try to overcomplicate things, or you
Yeah,
know what do they have that they can offer and what do I have to offer, and then
yeah,
how do we come up with a great strategy so that we both win. I remember my mentor, he
yeah.
used to say a great negotiation, nobody walks away from that table with everything that they wanted. And I
Yeah.
always kept that in mind. I'm like, because there are people that are going to come to you to leverage for you to check whatever box they need, or you have
Mhm.
something, right? Nobody's just coming to you and like, yeah, I want to do this thing. So it's like, okay, particularly as women, we have to be
Mhm.
comfortable with saying like, okay, well, this is what I actually want. And sometimes people can say, oh, it's
Absolutely.
abrasive, it's bullish, it's this, it's that, but people do it every day, right? Like I literally had an aha moment last week where some people, I had meetings and I was just like, wait a minute, I have the expertise and deep knowledge here.
Yeah.
Like I walked off of that call, like, no. This is not how it's gonna work. And that actually like fueled me even more to say, like, oh, I'm not playing around anymore. Right? Like it's over.
Yeah.
Game over.
Yeah. I think it's really, really important to think about how it is, particularly how it pertains to partnerships, right? Like sometimes we want to partner with the big name, right? When it's like you're gonna wind up being a footnote in there if you don't hustle for it. There are
Mm-hmm.
times that I've partnered with big names and just thought by being a part of the big name that I was gonna pop, and not realizing that once I got to the partnership there was still more work to do. And I had stronger ties when I worked with the smaller names because I got more FaceTime with people, and I still have a lot of those same customers from those smaller events with the smaller name business versus when I did the big name and the people who were paying attention to me for the 5 minutes that I was attached to the big name. So
Mm-hmm.
you gotta set a goal for yourself before you go into the event, or the partnership or whatever it is make sure that your core customer is there.
Yeah.
Because if I'm doing a partnership with EA Sports, it got to make sense. It got to be something aligned with what my customer base is, or whatever the company is. It just has to align for us. And people sometimes are just so attached to like being part of a big name. I've done so many like dumb partnerships that didn't actually work for me. It's like my customer ain't even here. Like this is silly.
Mm-hmm.
When it's like, all right, the small guy that was doing an event with 50 people, all 50 of those people will buy from me, versus being in front of these 200,000 people who don't give a damn about what I got to offer.
Yeah.
So, but still, shout out to Rihanna.
Yeah, I think just lastly, like I just had like an aha moment for me. It's the alignment, right? And like the
Yeah,
vision that you have for your life. And like even me getting into Harvard, right? Like I remember when I got into Columbia Business School, right? And I was like, oh, I'm not good enough. But I always wanted to go to a teacher's college because I wanted to be a teacher. So I was like, oh, I'm going to go to Columbia Teachers College. I had a vision for my life. Even in the South Bronx, I knew that there was more, right? And I
I just
would
want
be
you to know this
like,
flex that you're doing. Like, well, I'm going to Columbia, and then I got to, and then Harvard.
okay,
Like,
I'm not.
I just. You're saying that you don't want to brag, but I'm just saying, like, you definitely shitted on all of us. Like, we are
No, I'm
collectively
not. I'm
feeling the
so
shit flowing on
humble.
us.
I'm so humble. But I said that to say, like, my journey, like, what was already written for me was the vision that one was through faith, right, with God, hands down.
Amen,
But I
amen,
had
amen.
a vision for my life. And even when it was hard, right, like, we've had some really
Yeah,
hard time. Any entrepreneurs, like, this is crazy. But
most of-
what I'm able to do now and sharing this story, right? Like even being on the podcast and like all this stuff, this is me being vulnerable because I am a very private person. But in me doing this, it allows other people to know that it's possible, right? When I saw
amen.
Rihanna, I was like, wow, this is amazing, right? She's an amazing businesswoman. I hope that when people see us, you're an amazing mom, you're an amazing business owner. I'm an amazing sister. I'm an amazing friend, right? I'm an amazing
Yeah.
woman, right? We're all amazing. So that was just my little, sorry, I'm not going to go on a
Yeah,
tangent,
yeah, yeah.
but
No, you're an amazing
I
Harvard
just had to share
attendee
that.
and Columbia Business School. Bitch, shoot. Go ahead.
I need you to stop,
I'm
okay?
never gonna stop. What are you talking about? She very casually said Harvard and just moved on like she was talking about she was going to the corner store, and that's nuts to me. But
Not
the
the
next
corner store.
story is, yo, I thought that this story was like super super important because in the news right now we're seeing it. Everyone in the tech field, they're feeling it. These tech CEOs, these financial CEOs taking a pay cut. Now, there's the article just came out. We put the link in the description, or I'm saying we. Shout out to Aside. Um, but I thought it was really interesting because people do not take into account. So if you're at the helm of a company and all your employees are being laid off, fired, how can you still rake in your multi-million dollar salary? Now they have a few different CEOs listed in here that have all taken what they're saying extreme pay cuts, but they're going from like 35 million to 25 million. I think the person who took the biggest pay cut and the company that I would be the proudest working for is at Zoom. The Zoom CEO took a pay cut of, I want to say 98%. Yeah, 98%. 98% pay cut. Just because he didn't want to take in his normal pay with, I think they were laying off like 15% of their workforce. And other CEOs are also taking pay cuts. I think some of them are a little bit more, what's that, like for show? Because it's like, oh, you cut it 2% and it went from 35 million to 32 million. And you can see the list of all the men who are all taking these pay cuts. But I think this relates to like us being entrepreneurs. Like there's so many months that's gone by where I'm like, all right, we got to make it. We got this new packaging order to put in. We got this new inventory to put in, and something got to go. And normally it's my pay is the first thing on the chopping block, which we're trying to get out of, right? Like we're trying to get to a more set and sustainable business. But I think it's really, really interesting because people don't often see that side of it as the CEO and like how you have to like lead and take charge of a company that's also going through a hard time.
Hmm.
Because in tech, I mean, everybody's getting damn laid off. Like,
Or take a pay cut when you're trying to build, right? Like I didn't take a
yeah,
salary for 7 years. I literally
amen.
had 5 shirts, 5 pairs of pants. I used to go to the Gap, right? I would only wear my barbershop uniform, 2 pairs of sneakers. I even had a map that there was a point when I was like, I'm gonna have to live in my store, right? And I was like, well, we got an
Yeah,
extra room. I'm gonna get a cot. New York Sports Club was, a block away. I had my gym membership. I was like, I could take a shower at New York Sports Club and then I could come to work, sleep in the basement, right, on the cot, like
yeah,
nobody would know. But that's how tied I was to the vision and the mission of the company. That I think that's something that a lot of people don't talk about, particularly as Black founders. Like, what is our sacrifice? What are
mm,
the things that we have to forego to build these companies? Like, I am not that far removed from that. I actually even had to move back in with my mom, right? Like,
same.
that is different when you're used to operating on your own in your own space. You can walk around how you want. To now, it's like your mother's in your business. You come in, and she's like, "Oh, where are you coming from?" And I'm like, "I'm fully over 30, right? Like, answer, but you live in someone else's home. You gotta abide by their rules."
Yeah,
So I think that it does say a lot about CEOs. Someone like Tim Cook, like 49 million, $50 million pay cut is like wow. But he also
wild.
understands the company. He knows that they'll make that back tenfold, right? So let's
Yeah,
retain good talent, because I think that's something that people don't talk about a lot either, is how much it actually costs to hire an employee and what does it take to retain good people. So
yeah,
that's important as well, and it's admirable.
yeah. Because I mean, at the same time, you have companies that are spending what $7 million on a Super Bowl ad and flying. The CEO flies and we're in private jets. I know myself. I get itchy after walking past the ninth row. I'm like, oh my God, right? I get, oh my God, what's going on back there? Like my whole family, they make fun of me. Like when Snakes on the Plane came out, where the girl is like, I have to go to coach. Is it safe? Now, once you fly in that front part of that plane, going back, it's like, it's, the step down. Man,
I am
they would.
dead.
I remember one time my flight, like it got moved around, and then I got moved back to economy, and like it was like I felt like it was the same flight crew, and she was just so cold. Like when I first got on, she was helping me with my bag and taking my jacket, and then after that, please sit down, put your stuff under. I'm like, oh, my heart is broken. But when the times is down, the times is down. And it's like, all right, we might be on the plane, but next week is Greyhound. Like
Yeah.
you have to make it, you have to always make it make sense. And I think especially when it's like fast money and as fast as those tech companies kind of like raise money, which is just absolutely annoying when being a black founder and like not having the access to even like do stuff like that, right? Like to not to say I want access to burning money. I'd rather use my money to grow my business, but to see businesses be like literally wasteful because it's like, oh, we got to spend the money this year just to prove
Hmm.
that we need to raise even more. And like you'll see them burning through cash and it's disgusting. But then it's even more disgusting when you have a company like that and you're firing people and y'all still living like that. Like
Yeah.
that's just absolutely foul. Like you uprooting people's lives. People come over here on visas and now they,
Hmm.
with they running from ICE.
What's
Like
crazy?
it's doggy.
What's even crazier is like you see some of these larger organizations throwing like these big kickoff, start of the year parties, or like flying everyone out, and then It's like in 30, 60 days, it's like, oh, we're announcing a
Oh, we spent too
reorg,
much.
or because I've been a
Yeah.
part of that. And, we're restructuring the company. These are the layout. And I'm just like, wow. It's also fascinating. Like, if you're listening, I don't want you to, because I think as a Black founder, sometimes you can get so discouraged that you're like,
Mm,
wow, this company that's in my same industry raised all this money or did all of this, and
yeah.
I'm doing this with pennies and peanuts. I think stay true to your vision, and when it's your time, and I'm gonna say this with so much, like, I can't put so much emphasis on this. When it's your time, light that path on fire, right?
Yes,
Like,
Harvard.
blaze that trail,
Go ahead,
because
Harvard.
don't stop. Why would you do that?
I'm sorry.
Don't,
I'm sorry. I'm
like,
childish.
don't let anybody dim your light, because I've heard like people invest millions of dollars, right? And like, this never came to market. They never got it to stood up. And people that
Yep.
have done the same exact thing with like 60,000, 40,000, and like just leverage their friends and networks. And I've been there, right? So I'm just like, okay, got it. Got
Yeah.
it.
And when
But
you
when it's my
don't
time,
have no money, listen. But also when you don't have no money, like understand that you are operating at the what Damon John calls it, the power broke, right? You're
mm-hmm,
operating in a way that's so nimble. You are building a much more sustainable business than the people who are just leveraging burning cash.
yeah,
Like the find the holes. Like what does Kevin O'Leary
mm-hmm,
say? Like, oh, you a cockroach. The cockroaches outlive the dinosaurs, B. And when you're smaller, you get to find the cracks. There's always a
mm-hmm,
crack in the foundation. None of these foundations are poured without a hole. And if you a little mouse, just keep gnawing. You're gonna get through. You see how
mm-hmm.
they doing in New York? Them rats is outnumbering us 11-1. You know what I'm saying? Like, just keep at what you're doing. Don't give up. And
Mm-hmm.
you'll get into that house and go ahead and get in there and steal all the cheese.
Yeah. And one day we're going to talk about the shift that you have to make. And I've definitely experienced this in, like, I got to stop operating out of scarcity because it's
Yeah.
actually blocking the vision of the company. And like, you have to think about, like, is it worth my time and money? Or, like, because it's a shift that you have to
Hmm.
go through too. And you got to be like, I can't operate like this because this is blocking, especially as a CEO, this is blocking where we're trying to go. Like, we have more resources now, right? So like,
Oh,
you have to
yeah.
start
Go
thinking
ahead.
that way, because people don't talk about that enough either. And that has come up for me, and like speaking with my therapist, and all of those things, and a lot of the things that we take for granted, right? And I will
Yeah.
always go back to this the sentence that she said to me that just made a complete shift. She said, being able to take a risk is a luxury. And I never forgot that.
Mm.
Right? From here on out, I'm like, it is truly a luxury, right? People would die to have the opportunities and or the problems that I have, because they're good problems,
Yeah.
and the
All
wherewithal
right.
and the bandwidth to like try to figure it out. So yeah, if you're listening, don't be discouraged. I think I'm naturally an optimist. Even when bad things are happening, I'm like, you don't have bad days, you have bad moments, right? It's a
Mm.
moment. I'm not gonna let it take over everything, because what I've learned in this entire journey is your mind is so important. So
Amen.
segue and
Okay.
shifting
You going to
into
divinity school? What?
can
All
you
right.
stop?
That brings us
Oh
right
my
to the
god.
opportunity alert. We're gonna put the link in the we're gonna bring that into the into the bot wherever the words are at in this thing. I gotta figure out the terminology. We knew the podcasting, shut up. The opportunity alert. So there's an article that we're attaching. It's I don't like the way it's written personally because it's a little bit too it's written by somebody who clearly may not be an entrepreneur because it's a little haphazard and why entrepreneurs are not tapping into the government assistance that's out there. But apparently, there's a whole bunch of money and tax incentives and all these things. And by state, there are different opportunities for shifts in like kind of tax free capital or like very, very, very low interest rate capital. So in his article, he writes like that he has links to everything. It's Gene Marks from the Guardian. We have the link in there. If you're an entrepreneur, you're looking for some cash, go click the link. Maybe it's there. I do not like the way it's written only because it is a little bit accusatory of entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are not looking for money because they're lazy or they want a handout. There's just mad work and it ain't enough people to do it. But if you have a little bandwidth and maybe you could hire, get one of your cousins, somebody to look through these programs and see what works for you and what you actually qualify for, he has a link to a lot of those different programs. Yeah. And we're going to take a little break right now and
Yes,
come
yes,
back for the big boss talk.
yes.
And
I'm going to
we'll be right
Harvard,
back after the
guys.
break. Yeah.
I'm going to Harvard.
Finally,
I can't believe it.
finally, finally. There we
Oh, this
go.
is
That's the
crazy.
energy. That's
But
the
we'll see you
energy.
after the
All
break.
right. After the break. All right. Welcome back to Not the Highlight Reel. I'm Jessica.
And I'm Melissa.
Hey. So, we got this little podcast where we are basically trying to shift the conversation around what it takes to be an entrepreneur. And I thought it was really, 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 really important for us to get to. This was like our last topic when we was brainstorming topics to come up with. And I was like, nah, this needs to go to the top of the list. If you don't want a boss, stay at your job. Right now, we about to talk about now, Mel. How do you feel about people going towards business ownership all in an effort to not have somebody to answer to? Because that's the whole thing about being a boss, right? I don't have
Mm-hmm.
to answer to nobody. I don't want no boss. I don't want a boss. Don't have a boss. What Dame said? I love Dame personally. Like, I really do. I think I might love his antics more than anything, just because it's like old Harlem energy. But like, a boss don't have a boss. And I'm finding as a boss that I have mad bosses. I'm the boss of every
It's a
single
lie.
customer that comes in. It's a lie. Like, I just
If
kind
you're
of feel like
listening, let me just
'cause he
spare
was going in
you.
on
It's a
Charlemagne.
lie, right? Like you always have someone to answer to. And I would
True
say
to Carly.
now things have like really advanced. You actually have, you always say two audiences. You have your clients, but you also have your employees because the workforce
Jesus.
has
Hmm.
changed. So before
Yeah.
it was all about customer centricity, clients, 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 right? But also you gotta create an environment and a culture in which employees want to show up to execute the
Hmm.
vision. So you always have someone to answer to. That is a lie.
A big
That is a
lie. It's
complete
all a
lie.
lie, guys. She was lying. That's the Carly Rare meme. I'm sorry, my life is in a series of memes and
I'm
clips from
dead.
Love and Hip Hop and Real Housewives.
Jessica keeps me young, right? Because then I'm like, so what was that you were talking about?
It was all a lie, guys. No, they really do be out here lying. Like, no, as soon as if you're a boss, a boss, and that sounds like great, right? Like, do I have anyone to answer to? Technically, no, right? Like, can anyone tell me what to do? No. But if I want my business to be open tomorrow, I'm gonna listen to a few people because if not, if you out here just balls out to the wind, like, nah, to hell with all these people gotta say.
No.
Grand opening, grand closing. That big
Yeah.
boss talk it's a little silly sometimes because there's so many people. I realize I have to negotiate with every person that has a dollar that I want. If it's an investor, if it's an employee, they have like employees have money. Their money is in the form of their energy and time, and I have to ask them for that time. Slavery, I think they canceled slavery in what it was like the 1800s or something like that.
I
So
can't.
every
I cannot.
no, I'm just saying because people get a little confused, right? Like, and you go into these places, and I remember working at places, right? With I think the thing that people are walking away from is being disrespected, right? Like,
Hmm.
I've been in places that it's like, oh, you forgot I'm free. Like, I could leave here now. Like, I could leave here right now. And this project that you stressed out about, it could be on your table by yourself. So when you're talking to me, you like people really be wilding in these job situations, like throwing things,
Yeah,
yelling
that's
at people,
crazy.
cursing at people. It's crazy. I remember we just had Aisha on the show last week. It's this woman. Now Aisha didn't do this correctly. I'm still mad at her. I bring it up all the time because I'm mad at her. This woman threw a stapler at Aisha. I told Aisha
What?
I should have fell on the floor and started crying. She got mad. I'm like, girl, you done did it all wrong.
she
You're supposed to
she
fall on the floor
Naomi
and cry.
Campbelled her
Yeah,
with
but
the
you were supposed to fall
stapler.
out. And I think a lot of times, as Black women, especially, what I find is that we want to prove that we're such good workers that we kind of batter, like batter up the hatches for and I hope that's the right terminology because I'm definitely just taking that from socialization because I have no idea what the term means itself. But just fortifying yourself to just take the abuse, right? Like that
Hmm.
hurricane is coming, your boss is coming in, they're gonna be and a lot of times when that happens, you start getting so frustrated, but you
Hmm.
really gotta find out whether or not that's a situation at the space that you're at or whether or not you want to be a business owner. Because I'm
Hmm.
getting away from just calling business, making business ownership synonymous with entrepreneurship.
Hmm.
Because I want people to realize, when when you're in that place and you're at that job and that person is talking to you crazy, that's the same way that the people who pay invoices talk. I've had to
Hmm.
remind people, you are confused. I will cancel this sale. Do not call my phone cursing at me about some damn chocolate. You placed your
Mm-mm.
order late. The cutoff was clearly stated. Told you how many days it was coming to you. You think you about to call me and curse me out? You are confused. You
That
are
is so
genuinely confused.
crazy.
It's
That
nuts.
like
It's nuts. It's
I'm
nuts.
listening
It's
to you
nuts.
and
And
I'm
you have to
like,
have boundaries.
yeah. I'm like,
You have
have
to have
I ever
boundaries.
experienced that? I'm like, no. But I will say, when we are in these workspaces, I think it's not that we don't know our worth. I think
Yeah.
that we have so many underlying factors, particularly like we may be first generation, with the corporate experience, or for
Mm,
some of us, right? For
yeah.
some of us, we may be the first Ivy or the first graduate or PhD, all of those
Harvard.
things. And then you
Yeah.
think
First
about,
Harvard.
stop. And then you
Harvard.
think about, um, you may be taking care of your mom. You may be like,
Yeah.
there have been times that people make more money than what our parents were doing, right? Or like our grand, like
Amen.
there's so many
Mm,
things. Or you're taking care of your family, and it's like you're like, I don't want to lose this role. Like this, losing this
yeah.
$150,000 salary impacts more than just me,
Yeah.
right? It's a
Literally.
ripple effect because now I can't take care of my brother, my sister, my aunt. I can't go, like there's so many different
Yeah.
factors, but at the same time, like disrespect is disrespect, and that is not tolerated. Like I don't talk.
Mm,
I always, I always always treat people how you want to be treated. If you talk to me crazy, I'm like, oh, I'll just hang up. I haven't
yeah.
experienced that. I also think I'm a very direct person, and I know that sometimes people are not used to that, or when I'm like operating my boundaries, they're like, oh, she's so tough, or it's like this. And I'm like, no, you know, I know that I also know what it's like to be on the other side of like exhausting and giving your all. And then someone saying, like, I didn't ask you to do that. And you like, oh, so
Mm.
I want to also say
It's nuts.
shout out to women, shout out to Black women, because we are willing to do the work. And I want us to be comfortable enough in the space to truly understand our value, and advocate for the things that we need.
Yeah, and for me, I think the point is you're not gonna just solve that behavior by quitting your job. Now
Right.
you may need to, right? Like sometimes you gotta dump the nigga, right? Like you just gotta dump him. He's never gonna get it together. He's never gonna be better. He's he's a piece of shit, and you knew that from before. But whatever you tried, it's okay, sis. Sometimes you do dead just have to walk away. But there are other times where you in that in between time, you may not be ready to walk away. You may not be ready to go ahead and just pack it up and do your Vivian Green and get the baby stuff and get up out of there. Like you might not be ready for that. in there, make space for yourself because you're going to need it. Like if you're saying you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be a business owner, you got this idea that you want to do it, learn, get the muscles together. And if you are in your
Mm-hmm.
business currently and you trying to understand why things are not working, are you listening as much as you speak?
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't want to answer to nobody so much that you drowning yourself in unnecessary stupidity because you're not
Yeah.
listening. You got mentors you're not listening to. And if they're
Mm-hmm.
literally not talking to you and they're not understanding, I had to recognize that's like, oh, some of my mentors don't get it. You're so out of touch with what it takes for me to do it. Oh no, just go to the bank and whatever. But you don't think I did that? Like you don't. So I got this far, and you don't think I just decided not to mosey into the motherfucking bank and go ahead and ask, right? What do you mean they're not picking up your stuff? I mean, I'm in this office. I've paid these people to do something, and they're not doing it. What? That's outrageous. I fucking know, but it's annoying, and it's what I have to
Yeah.
deal with, and
Yeah.
it comes with my area. It comes with these things. And if you don't prepare yourself to actually build a process for dealing when those times come, you doing yourself a disservice because it's not just
Yeah.
about like switching it up or switching up the people. Like it takes a lot to hire an
Yeah.
employee and to keep on
Mm-hmm.
hiring them and hiring them. If you looking for somebody to be perfect, boo, date
No.
yourself. But you need helpers. You need people to get the job done. The boss, you want to know who the boss is? The boss is who the bills name, like that's the person whose name is on the bills. Nothing more. Like
Yeah.
literally nothing more. You took the biggest risk, so you want to get the biggest payout in the end, but you also taking the most L's along the way.
Yeah.
So if you're
And you
not
got to get
preparing yourself,
comfortable as you're speaking. I'm like, definitely building that muscle. I think as an entrepreneur, you have to be even more organized. You also got to get comfortable with paying people more than you will ever pay yourself, right? Because in the end, you get the
ooh, hold
biggest
on.
payout.
Ooh, that
But
hit me in my
when
condo.
you, yeah, you're like, wait, I run payroll. I'm like, I need to be doing this job because,
Yo, that is
right?
serious.
But I'm committed to the vision. And I think like if you are listening and you sign up for this because you're like, I'm trying to make all the money, I'm trying to make this $1 million, da 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 da. It's like that's not gonna what's gonna drive you because that's gonna take some time. You're not in this for the money. It's really about the vision, completing, what you signed up for.
I have
Those
two
other things will
things.
come, but it's not gonna be tomorrow.
I got two things. One,
Yes.
da 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 is literally Bronx speak. I think that that word like da 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 da. We need to define that because every person from the Bronx uses that term. And I love that shit. Just
Da, 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 da,
that
da.
shit. Just
I'm
that da
Bronxy.
that da.
I'm very Bronxy.
And then
That's my
I got a question
roots.
from Assad. I got a question from Assad. Assad wants to know. Hey, shout out to our producer Assad. Go ahead, holding
Yes.
us down. Uh, are you a student at Harvard or a professor at Harvard? Because
You
yo, you
guys,
dropping a gem. Nah, listen, we here in your wake as a Harvard business
oh my
school.
Lord.
Like you
I'm
like
dead
L
at the da
Woods.
da 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 because I didn't even realize like
No, no, no.
that's
Yo,
so New York.
that shit just came out. First of all, I'm only saying it, and this is gonna be a hilarious loop. I was listening to a song by Ice Spice, and she definitely said da 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 in the Ice Spice song. I love her. I love her. Her little orange fro. I love little sis.
Shout
She
out to
is so
Ice
funny to me.
Spice.
Shout out to Ice Spice. All the
That
little
was very
girlies
Bronxy of
rapping.
me.
That was very Bronxy, but you know what? And I love it because it's like you going to Harvard, but you still will da 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 on these bitches, and I appreciate.
I'm gonna think about da 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 all day now
I
because I
want you
didn't
to
even
say it at least once a
realize.
day to keep yourself grounded in your Bronxness, right? Like when you're eating your crumpets before class, or whatever the fuck y'all eat before class at Harvard.
I
I
am
want you
dead.
to like right when the teacher is like, "Oh, explain something," and you're like, "Okay, when the economics of the business dropped, like that, like you got to put it in there
I
every,
can't.
you
Shout out
know,
to the
Harlem,
Bronx. Shout out to the
shout out to the
South
Bronx."
Bronx. Because when I tell people, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm from the Bronx. And then when I say, yeah, I'm from the South Bronx, I've watched people's faces like, oh. And I'm like, yeah. But that is community. The South Bronx has taught me community, the value of love, the value of going to bat for your people, right? Like, that was the first family. If you from the Bronx, it's one team, one dream. We in this together.
No,
So
yeah,
shout
now
out to the
y'all go
Bronx
up on a hill and die on it together, and y'all
to
got
get
it.
like the meme is
Y'all
like I
got it.
wish I love what is it? I wish
I
I
love
love the Bronx as
myself the
much as
way.
people I love myself the way people love the Bronx.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
No, y'all.
So
Yeah, we proud of y'all.
thank
I'm gonna
you.
just stay in Harlem the way that God intended it for me. And good luck to y'all though.
I'm dead. I
I
used to be
still love the
between
girls.
both.
I
I'm
used
from
to.
the Bronx, but my friends is from Harlem. People were like, you sure you from the Bronx? I'm like, I'm from the Bronx. So shout out to
I'm from the
138th
Bronx. It's
Street.
it's probably the Bronx that
I'm
keeps
from the
doing it for
Bronx.
everyone. I'm from the Bronx.
Um,
But now you going to Harvard and look at you.
I am, and I want the little girls and boys and the men and women from the Bronx to know what's possible, and don't let anyone dim your light. And always throwing a little da 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 da, because
Eh,
I really didn't recognize.
Ew. I did. I heard it. I heard it for real. All right. Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode, and we are going to get into our closing tip of the day. I think it really hits with um with this episode because it's one of the biggest questions I get all the time. You want to develop a timeline to pay yourself.
Mhm.
Every time, anytime I go to a networking event, it's like, oh, how did you pay yourself? I think I waited a little bit too long, and I'm still kind of waiting too long. We literally in the next few weeks are solving this problem, but you want to develop at least a timeline to put yourself on payroll. Incorporate a moderate salary. Ooh, salary. Da, 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 da. Incorporate a moderate salary into your business and pay yourself every week or month along with your employees. I mean, you can't pay your employees once a month, but making sure that there's some type of regularity to when your salary comes out of the business. Make sure that salary covers all of your personal bills. You take it and push your business to make the numbers to make sure that they can pay you. Um, when you start to analyze your business and recognize that you're falling short of paying yourself, that should draw your attention to the fact that you either need to change something about your sales strategy or that you need to increase the volume at which you're doing things.
Mhm.
And make sure that you're looking at that restructuring. But the one thing you can't do is just not pay yourself without a timeline attached to it. I think we wait way too long to pay ourselves, and we need to stop doing that because as Black women, there are a lot of people that we wind up supporting, and we wind up getting further and further down on the list, and it's harder to climb up out of it. So just develop a timeline, pick a salary, and then you have to push your business to support you. And that may sound like it's something crazy, but at least if that part of your record is going negative. You don't have to keep it on your books, right? Because we know we want to paint some different stories. Put it in a spreadsheet of how much the business owes you at the time of payout when you get to where you need to be. Because you have to have a record of how much energy and time and money you're putting into the business.
So if you grew up in New York and you saw the Celino and Barnes commercials, it's my money and I want it
Yeah, you are not.
now. That was a little joke. That was
Yo,
funny.
that was great. That was great. No, dead serious. Like dead serious. You need you really need to go for it. Go for it.
But
You
if
gonna
you want
close
to
us
learn
out?
more, if you want to learn more, Tune into the show notes and our links, and follow us on all socials. Search for Not the Highlight Reel. Not the Highlight Reel is a production of Rifelion Media. We'll be back next week with another anti-reel for you. Until next time, I'm Melissa.
And I'm Jessica. Da, 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 da.
I was gonna say, who are you? Da 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 da. I am dead.